Why you sabotage money right before it arrives. Here's something worth sitting with. Wanting money and being able to receive it are two completely different skills. Most people have only ever practiced the first one. By the end of this, you'll know exactly where in the process you tend to sabotage, and it's probably closer to the finish line than you think. You know the pattern, even if you've never named it. The client is about to sign, and suddenly you're slow to send the contract. The raise conversation is finally scheduled, and you spend the week before finding reasons it's not the right time. The refund is processing. The gift is in the mail. The invoice just needs one follow-up email. And somehow, right there, at the very last step, something in you stalls.
Most people explain this away the same way. I just have bad luck with money. Bad timing. Things fall through for me right when they're about to work out. That's just how it goes. It feels like an external pattern happening to you. Here's the myth in that explanation. It assumes the money is what's being resisted. It's not. Money is abstract. Nobody actually flinches at a number in a bank account. What's being resisted is the moment of receiving it. Because receiving requires you to briefly become someone slightly unfamiliar to yourself. Wanting money keeps you exactly who you are, just hoping. Receiving it asks you to actually hold something you may not have practiced holding. Let's talk about why that's not as abstract as it sounds. Fear, at its root, is just misdirected energy, a nervous system response to something unfamiliar, not necessarily something dangerous. And for a lot of people, having money is unfamiliar in a very literal, felt sense. Not because they've never had any money, because they've never had this amount, or received it this easily, or been trusted with it, or been in a position where money came to them instead of them chasing it down. Your nervous system doesn't sort experiences into good and bad. It sorts them into familiar and unfamiliar. And the unfamiliar one, even when it's good news, can register as something to brace against. Here's the mechanism worth naming clearly. Receiving requires a felt sense of deserving, not just an intellectual one. You can believe completely, on paper, that you deserve the raise, the client, the refund. But if some older, unexamined part of you doesn't feel it, feels instead that this is more than what's usually allowed to come to you, there's a mismatch. And when incoming money outpaces your internal capacity to hold it, something has to give. Usually, it's you, quietly, at the exact moment closest to receiving. This shows up in very specific, very ordinary ways. You send an invoice, and right after, before anyone's even responded, you start wondering if you charged too much and mentally start planning the discount you'll offer if they push back, before they've said a word. You have a follow-up email drafted for 3 days and somehow don't send it, telling yourself you're busy, when the truth is you're not busy. You're avoiding the moment where the answer becomes real. Someone compliments something you did well and offers to pay you more for it. And instead of just saying thank you, you immediately downplay it. Redirect the compliment. Make it smaller. All of these are the same reflex, wearing different outfits. Let's make this concrete. Picture someone with a client who's ready to sign, has said yes verbally, is just waiting on the contract. She has 3 days of complete availability and somehow doesn't send it until the 4th, telling herself she wanted to look it over one more time. She looks it over the same way 3 separate times. Nothing changes in the document. What's actually happening isn't due diligence. It's the felt experience of being one signature away from money that will require her to see herself as someone who charges what she charged, successfully. And some part of her isn't ready to be that person yet. Here's the stat anchor worth holding on to, because it's the same underlying mechanism behind a lot of what gets called self-sabotage. Familiarity, not desire, decides what your nervous system lets through. You can want something intensely and still resist it, because wanting operates on desire and receiving operates on what feels survivable to your nervous system. Those are not the same system, and one of them doesn't care how badly you want the outcome. This is also why just receive it doesn't work as advice, and why hearing it usually makes people feel worse rather than better. It treats this as a willpower problem, as if the person is choosing consciously to sabotage themselves and could simply choose not to. But the resistance is happening beneath the choosing. Telling someone to just receive it is a little like telling someone to just not flinch at a loud noise. The instruction is correct and completely useless because the flinch isn't a decision. So, what actually shifts this? Not a single dramatic leap into suddenly being someone who receives large amounts of money easily. It's smaller than that. And it works the same way any unfamiliar thing becomes familiar. Repetition, at low stakes, before the high stakes moment arrives. Practicing receiving a compliment without immediately deflecting it. Practicing accepting a small gift without insisting on paying for something in return. Practicing receiving a small amount of money, a refund, a reimbursement, a small payment, without mentally spending it before it lands, or minimizing it once it does. None of these individually matter much. What they build, slowly, is a nervous system that has some actual practice being on the receiving end of something good, so that when the bigger version shows up, it's not the first time you've ever done this. So, here's what I'd leave you with. Think about the last time money was close. A client, a raise, a refund, anything. What did you actually do right before it arrived? If there's a stall in there somewhere, a delayed email, an unnecessary discount, a compliment you brushed off, that's not bad luck. That's the exact moment receiving asked you to become someone slightly unfamiliar to yourself, and some part of you wasn't ready yet. The good news is, capacity for receiving isn't fixed. It's built the same way anything else gets built, in small, low-stakes reps, long before the moment that actually matters. Wanting was never the hard part. Receiving is, until you decide otherwise.